And we're recording. Okay, so if you have your textbook open to 374, you might notice that in the introduction it says healthcare consumers demand quality in the products and services they receive. It's kind of a no-brainer. You don't want poor quality service. You don't want them using shoddy, second-rate supplies on you. So obviously you do, as a patient, you would expect the highest quality care. We as CS techs, we directly serve our internal customers. So we serve doctors, nurses, the people who are providing the quality of care. But that doesn't mean that we escape having to provide quality. We must provide the best, highest quality services to our internal customers and products for them to provide the best high quality services. And it does directly impact the patient outcomes. You can, good morning, Denise. You can definitely impact patient outcomes by providing poor quality. What could be poor quality? Not having instruments or supplies ready and delivered when they're needed. That would be a sign of poor quality. We're an integral part of the quality throughout the healthcare facility. It's not just the OR, and it's not just labor delivery, ER. There's many different departments that depend on us to be able to provide that quality, that high level of quality. So now with emerging antibiotic resistant bacteria and the ever increasing complexity of surgical instrumentation, it's never been more challenging or rewarding to provide consistent high quality products and services. Yes, it is increasingly more challenging to provide consistent high levels of quality and service, especially since we are now expected to live up to higher standards than they were, like, say, in the 1970s. But what is quality? So quality refers to the degree or grade of excellence of a product or a service. Have you ever received poor quality? Save that for the discussion board. Have you ever received a high quality? Sorry. My phone wants me to know that my Zoom meeting is starting. Chances are pretty good you have received high quality. So with the patient being the center of everything we do, right there in the chewy nougat center of everything we do regarding quality efforts is meant to have a positive, not a negative impact on the patient. I'll tell you about some quality. I'm not selling car insurance, but I do appreciate Geico's level of quality, and it is about the customer service. I haven't shopped around to see if I could get a better deal from somewhere else because I'm sort of committed to this company. And they do things like, after you hang up with them or have any involvement with them at all, they will send you a survey. They're interested in knowing how well they did. So that, to me, points to a high quality standard. And we can do quality standard surveys as well. So the way it works in a lot of departments is we will wait until the OR tells us something's wrong. So as you can imagine, that might have some drawbacks to it. What if they never tell us? And as a matter of fact, I've seen where the OR gets so used to things being not right that they just shrug it off and say, that's SPD for you. They shouldn't be scrambling to find their own supplies and instruments right at the last minute as they're trying to prepare for a case. So how are they going to let us know? Well, they might send down the count sheet from a tray that was missing a number 3 knife handle with a note that says it was missing a number 3 knife handle. And then we can go to the tech who was responsible, whose name was on that tray, and say, hey, it was missing a number 3 knife handle. Well, we should always still do that, make sure that the little holes are filled in. with cases, if it was missing an entire minor set or the minor pack or what have you, if it was missing something, they can let us know by sending us down the pick list that had the error on it. And the person who signed it, we can go in to the person who completed or assembled the case, and we can say, hey, you know, you made this error. That's all well and good, but how about sending up surveys with the product? This is a very good idea, in my opinion. We can send up a survey that they can fill out, whether everything was correct or there were things that were incorrect. There's a couple of things you're going to get from this. You're going to see, hopefully, the OR is going to see that we are indeed trying to focus on quality. Now, what would we do with the what would we do with those survey results? Let's say that we find out that the OR is pretty displeased with our level of service. It doesn't meet their standard of quality because, well, they're having to scramble at the last minute and get supplies, etc. So we have to take this data and we actually have to translate it into a better customer service. Okay, the components of quality, I'm going to skip over that, but know that quality is really important in everything we do. We don't just show up to work, do our job, punch out, go home, and take a shower. We have to do a lot. And so empowerment. Empowerment is the action of driving the process of decision-making and implementation down the facility's chain of command. So you, as a sterile processing tech, you are empowered to make decisions within your scope about how you're going to provide the quality. You're not going to change standards. You can absolutely exceed standards, but you're not going to lower standards. You can look at how you are conducting a process. So anything could be a process. How you're assembling the sets. How you are assembling case cards. You can say, you know, I could do this faster. I could probably get twice as many done in the same amount of time if I do this. And this is actually a quality effort. Or you could say, I've been making too many errors. I'm going to change this about the way I do things, and I'm going to decrease those number of errors. So this is called a process improvement when you're looking for ways to improve the process. Many techs find process improvements, and they can be implemented by the management as a real process change. Okay, quality requires committed leaders to help manage the data, to plan opportunities, to establish priorities, and to empower people to implement process improvements. I'll bet you that if I asked each one of you, you would have had an experience at least once with a poor leadership where quality was suffering. No matter what you're doing, if you were digging ditches, well, you had a leader, and if they didn't tell you how deep to dig the ditch or how long to make the ditch, you know, that's poor leadership. So committed leaders are really important to a quality process. Look at page 377. As a leader, you're going to want to do something like this. You're going to want to track your quality. See the chart on top, it says average trays backlogged at 7 a.m. We want to keep it below 15. We have it at 42. So they're indicating with the color red that we are not reaching our goal. And then it goes on down the line. See, track what you're doing. Don't just sit in your office and playing solitaire on the computer. Planning, tools, and procedures. Going to let you go over those bullet points. And then look at the blue box where it says Principles of Quality Management. Several principles of quality management form the foundation of a quality process. It should be patient-focused. It should manage the process. It's important to manage the process more so than the people. If you have somebody who's working the process who's not doing the process correctly, those things happen. But we need to be managing the process. What's really going on? on that top chart where we have way too many trays backlogged. There's room for process improvement right here, let me tell you. Should be continuous quality improvement and should be making fact-based decisions. So on page 378 is the first mention in this chapter of something called a cross-functional team. Let's say that you have a issue with getting cases ready for the AM. And it is your job to make sure that everything is ready to go for the next day. So on Monday, you spent the entire day making sure that Tuesday's cases were ready to go. And yet they weren't. Something's wrong here. So for something like this, you could actually get together a cross-functional team. You might find that they're not sending their schedule down soon enough, so you don't have the ability to get everything done in time. It could be that some of the pick lists or all of the pick lists have errors on them, and so therefore you do not have the cases complete and correct on time. Getting a cross-functional team, say some OR nurses and OR techs with sterile processing people, getting them together as a group and trying to get to the bottom of issues and so that we can solve them. Okay, now on page 379. Quality control indicators. Do we have quality control indicators? Yes, we do. A couple of them are actually our biologicals and our chemical indicators. There may be the surveys that are being returned. That could be a quality control indicator. We have tools that we use to make sure that we have the high quality, but we nothing. Okay, analysis of quality concerns. Okay, a failure mode and effects analysis is something that you may not do officially in a sterile processing department. Perhaps you will. Perhaps you'll be involved in this. So an FMEA looks at a process and looks for possible failures in the process. What could go wrong in this process? What's going to be the result of an error in the process? So a failure mode and effects analysis looks at a process and proactively tries to solve the problems before they happen. In a sense, we all sort of do this because we know what's going to happen if we don't pay our electric bill. Okay, failure mode effects analysis tells me I'm not going to have electricity. That's not really a failure mode and effects analysis, but it's a very simplistic way of looking at it. What's going to go wrong if we implement this process and it doesn't work? Now we can focus on making the process work because we know what could go wrong. And root cause analysis is a way of looking back at something that went wrong and saying, well, what did go wrong? So they're going to do a root cause analysis if something goes tragically wrong. The Joint Commission requires that a root cause analysis be done on any sentinel event that is recurring. A sentinel event is when the patient dies, is seriously injured, psychologically injured, physically injured. It's a big deal. We do not want sentinel events ever. So if a sentinel event happens, they're going to look at everything that was involved, down to every peel pack and whose initials were on it in the case. They're going to analyze it to death. So they're going to try and find what exactly went wrong. And hopefully they'll discover what went wrong so they can fix that process for the future. So a root cause analysis looks back at something that went wrong and tries to improve the future. And a failure mode and effects analysis looks forward into the future. What could possibly go wrong with this process? Okay, some other quality program alternatives are the TQI, the CQI, and the TQM. The definitions of total quality improvement, continuous quality improvement, and total quality management are very similar. They seem to almost be saying the same thing. I want you to pay really close attention to the differences. Total quality improvement involves measuring the current output of a process or a procedure and then modifying it to increase the output, increase efficiency, and or increase effectiveness. So we're looking at the entire process and trying to improve it to increase. Continuous is a statistical method to improve work processes. We're gathering information, we're looking at statistics, and we're looking at a spreadsheet to say what can we change to make this better. And then total quality management is an organization-wide approach. So total quality management would be something like Banner, all of Banner. Continuous quality improvement and total quality management, or total quality improvement, sorry, are not necessarily organization-wide. Okay, so figure out how you're going to remember the differences between these terms. Okay, and if you need help, I can offer help.